How do I introduce Fred? We introduced him already, but he's got a best-selling book out there, Superbold, and he's put something really special together, so I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to give Fred the floor. Round of applause for Fred, please. I'm going to keep it.
So I was in my elevator the other day, and this mom gets in the elevator with her young daughter, maybe 4 years old, and she's got her little bike with her, and she's got a great little helmet on with like feathers on the top or something. So I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I really love your helmet." And she goes, "Oh, thank you." And then I said, "Would you push my floor for me?" Because kids love to push the elevator button. So she pushes her floor, and then she pushes mine. I said, I'm number 4. And she pushes it, and she goes, "Oh, you're only 1 floor above us. We can come up and visit." And I thought, well, that's really great. I said, "Yeah, you can meet my cat. What's your cat's name?" "Cookie." And she laughs, "That's funny." So a couple of days later, I get in the elevator. This attractive woman gets in the elevator. She pushes her button. I push my floor, and I said, "Hey." Oddly enough, it didn't work. But the point is, what happened? That little girl, she was so open. And that's what super boldness really is to revive that in ourselves, that openness. Now, part of what's so appealing, the ingenuousness of that child, what draws us in is she's got no agenda. She wants to, I'm going to come up and visit. The woman obviously thought I had an agenda when I suggested that she come up. But that's one of the powers that I teach is this: when you are interacting with someone, when you are making a connection, you are not concerned about the outcome. You are not there for your agenda, for your gain. As Bernie says, you're leading with your giving hand. When you lead that way in an interaction, the reaction is completely different. So these are life skills that you can develop, but it starts with being that child who just comes out and is open. And we heard stuff over and over and over growing up. Messages that got embedded. Don't talk to strangers. Guess what? You need to talk to strangers. If you're running a dental practice, you should be talking to every stranger you meet. So should your team. They should know how to talk to people and invite them into the practice and brag about how amazing you are, and you should be pretty comfortable bragging about how amazing you are too. This is what boldness is about, is your ability to connect and talk to strangers. And this is watch out, you might get hurt. Guess what? Life hurts. Being in love hurts. Being in relationships, being in business, these things hurt. You can't watch out for getting hurt and avoid it like the plague. You gotta lean in, step up, take a few punches. You just get stronger, you just get smarter, you just get where you're going. Don't be a show-off. Hear that a lot as a kid. Don't be, what do you know, and we think, oh, it's a bad thing to draw attention to ourselves. Why not draw attention to ourselves? It's, me being on stage is not being a show-off, it's communicating. I'm trying to have an impact on you. I'm trying to give you something. You have something amazing to give people. Healthy teeth, an understanding of their oral health, which they don't have. A chance to transform the way their body works and the way they interact with the world because of the way they look. Show off your great cases. That's what before and afters are. You showing off. You should be a hell of a show-off. Forget these messages. Because I said so. This is basically says, follow the rules. How far is that getting you now? following the rules, other people's rules, other people's crazy, meaningless rules. Start to ask yourself every time, does this rule make sense for me? I'm not talking about driving 100 miles an hour. I'm talking about societal rules that people are saying. Don't draw attention to yourself. These things, when you change the way you think about these things, the world starts to perceive you in a different way. This is why the title of my book is From Underconfident to Charismatic in 90 Days, because charismatic just means that the full you is attracting people. What draws people in is your confidence, your comfort with yourself in every situation. That's all charisma really is. It's how other people are perceiving you because of your comfort. And you can learn it, and that's kind of the point of the book, is for you to learn it, to learn to take yourself from whatever level of boldness you're at, to be bold in every situation, to summon that when it matters most, when you're chasing your dreams, when you're chasing a lot of fun, when you're doing what you ought to be doing. Don't rock the boat. Rock the goddamn boat, is what I say. We need people who rock the boat. Those are the people who make a difference. Be one of those people. Be like Roy. Do a crazy dance on your website. Why? Because that projects the personality of his practice. Why not project that personality? Don't go, oh, well, I shouldn't do that because people will misperceive it. Hopefully, some will misperceive it and a whole bunch of other people will be drawn in because it's unique. Rock that damn boat. And also, we talk about this all the time with Bernie and Tony Robbins and everybody. We talk about this self-talk, these limiting beliefs, this thing, these voices. And we actually have more than one voice in our head. We have a bunch of voices in our head that we're hearing all the time. We've got there's just babbling on constantly. And there's another that's a commentator that's, well, look at that guy, look at this thing, what about that building? Maybe I'll buy that car. And then there's a critic. You're not going to be very good at that. Don't try that. People are going to laugh at you. You're going to fail at that. You're going to make a mistake. You're not that smart. You're not that good looking. You can't dance. You can't sing. You're not good at math. The critic is busy and full of nonsense, but it stops you. It causes that hesitation that keeps you from acting, from stepping up, from speaking up, from trying new things. There's another voice in there, there's your cheerleader. She's great. She's going, you can do it. Try it. It'll be fun, it'll be interesting, it'll be different. Don't just sit here. Don't miss this opportunity. Go for it. Go, go, go. There's a voice to listen to. And then there's an actual trainer in your head. If you've been coached enough, you actually can hear your coach. What would my coach say to me? What would I be telling myself? These are powerful messages that we have to start listening to and stop believing all this crazy stuff that we think, all this stuff that has been programmed into us. Horrible limiting beliefs. I call them barrier beliefs because they create a barrier to all of our fulfillment. All of our achievements, all of our dreams are blocked by these barriers that are just stuff running through our head over and over and over again. You won't stop them. You can't tell them to shut up, but you can not listen. And you can listen to the cheerleader. You can listen to the coach. Now, people ask me this when they say, well, wasn't boldness and confidence the same thing? And I make a clear distinction. Confidence is a good thing. It's how you feel in any given situation or how you move through the world with that feeling. Boldness is confidence in action. You are doing stuff when you are bold. You are going out into the world and trying things. You don't just feel good, feel confident. Because a lot of people walking around confident all the time, they don't try anything. Because some other thing is keeping them in their comfort zone. But when you're trying to run a practice, and you've been programmed a lot of times in dental school to, you've been beaten down by the professors. And you're trying to build yourself back up. But to run a business in dentistry, it takes boldness to tell your team members what you expect from them. It's easy to be nice to them. It's easy to take care of them. It's easy to bonus them even. Easier. But to tell them what you expect in return and hold them accountable for that takes boldness, because it's not easy and you don't feel comfortable doing it. But when you do it, they respond, because you've made it clear that this is a value for value exchange. A lot of times I was terrible at this. When I created a business, I created a great place to work, and I never told people what I expected in return. I expected them to behave accordingly. I expected them to be like me. When somebody takes good care of me, I perform. Everybody doesn't do that. What percentage would you say of people actually respond that way? 10, 20, 50? Dead silence? Yeah, it's not everybody. Maybe it's half. But we have to get through to them with what we expect. That means speaking up. It takes boldness to fire somebody. To say, you don't belong here anymore. You need to go work somewhere else. Because all of these other factors, I got to replace them. What the team going to say? She's got a mortgage. That's somehow your problem? But we identify, because we're decent human beings. But you got a business to run. And you got all these people you're responsible to, and you're responsible to yourself to thrive. Which means you need great players. So you got to speak up. You can't wait 6 months. You know the old adage is the only problem I had with firing somebody is how long I waited. And you know what we learned, all of us, is when you fired them, it was always worse than you thought. They were doing more damage than you perceived. That's why you have to step up and do that. It takes boldness to ask for referrals. It feels like you're reaching for something. So you have to have the right verbiage. You have to say what works with people, which is part of what I talk about in boldness is preparation. Is you want to load your lips. You want to know what you're going to say so that it comes off not like you're needy and greedy, but it's like, we love taking care of people like you. If you know people who are looking for a dentist who are like you, we'd love to take care of them. So please invite them to our practice. We'll take great care of them. That doesn't sound needy. And if you would, I'd love it if you made a testimonial video for me, because everybody loves to watch videos. That would really help us as a practice. You just talk about what it's like to be a patient of ours. If you don't like it, we won't use it. But that would be great if you would do that for us. Not hard to say. Except it seems really hard to say when you actually are about to say it. And it makes all the difference in your practice. It takes boldness to ask for the money. You remember, most of you were at the last F50 where we talked about what's the biggest case you handled on a single person, and we got over 100 grand with some people. It takes boldness to ask for that. Because there are some cases that are $50,000, that are $70,000. You got to be bold enough to say it and believe that that's worth it, because it is, or you wouldn't have created the treatment plan. So you want to speak up and say what that person needs. You can't be governed by what you think they can afford. That's the worst way to decide what you're going to present. It takes boldness to take on new technology, learn how to use it, because you didn't learn it in school. And you're really comfortable with how fast the practice is moving. And this thing's going to slow me down. Yeah, it's going to slow you down till it speeds you up. It takes boldness. You have to summon it. It takes boldness to try, knowing you could fail. That's the given. Anything worth trying, you could fail at. But bold people know that failure is just a series of steps up. It's not a reason to retreat. It's not a reason to give up. And it takes boldness to be a leader. You guys are stuck with it. You have made this choice. You are forced to lead a practice. You are leading people, and you are leading your patients towards health. It takes boldness to want to become a better leader and learn how to do it and admit you're not great at leading. Because we're all still learning. Bernie and I are still learning, sometimes from each other. But it takes boldness to say that. I need to get better. I'm trying to become twice the speaker I am now. That's one of my goals this year. So that part of it is admitting I'm not as good as I think I am, basically. So I just got to get better. I have been studying this thing called flow state for the past year and a half. And I want to tell you a couple of interesting things about it. Because it actually enhances boldness in many ways, because it has such an impact on your achievement. But flow state is when your mind and your body and your emotions all feel like they're at their peak, and you're focused only on that thing you're doing, and it feels timeless because you're so focused on it. And if you can learn to do this for a couple hours a day, or for whatever you're really trying to make work. Now, you guys probably get into flow state as dentists when you're in a really intense case, and it takes 100% of your energy. And it feels kind of great, doesn't it? Because you've lost track of time, and you're doing exactly what you're great at. And that intense focus is just filling you, and you're going, wow, there's an even slightly better way of finishing this case, and I'm going to try and look at that, it's working. But you want to be able to take that flow state that you know exists for you and apply it to other places in your life where you shut out the noise. One of the keys to getting into flow state is to eliminate all the distractions. Not some of the distractions, not most of the distractions, all of them. Because all it takes is a little bit of distraction to totally drop you out of flow state. You can't move up into it. You keep dinking down. And I've learned to do it, and the difference is 5x. That's the amazing thing, is when you are 100% focused in a flow state, you can be 5 times more productive. You only need to do that a few hours a day to be massively production. You only need to do that 1 day a week, and you did 5 days worth of work. But it can be anything you want to work on, anything that's important. Whether maybe you want to learn an instrument, maybe you want to learn a language, maybe you want to connect with your spouse. Shut everything off and focus and dive in. Commit to total focus. And there's interesting things I've learned about it as well, and you may have noticed this when you're doing surgery, is there's the ramp up into flow state, and then when you're out of it, you've got to give yourself a little runway time, a little relaxation time. You can't just dive into something. So you dive into something healthy like eating a little snack, take a little nap, take a little walk, do a little exercise, do something fun. Don't watch TV. For some reason, that's one of the worst things you can do coming out of flow state. But one of the most important things to learn in flow state, and this is a life skill, this is a life trick, is to start. How many things do we not get to because we can't get started? Or we got to do all sorts of other things before we start. Whether it's exercise, or I got to take this course, or I got to do this, or I got to call this patient, or I got to talk to this employee. Does this happen to you? Who can easily identify with having trouble starting? Come on up here. You. I'm pointing to you. This is what happens when you boldly raise your hands in front of me. Are you willing to play full out on this one? That was a strong maybe.
Maybe. All right.
Yes. So, Ethan, what I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to answer honestly. Is there something you have had trouble starting with that you can recall?
Almost every day.
And what would that be?
Let's see. Just getting your daily task done. Let's say for the office, entering in the electronic transactions from the bank account.
All right, same. He's muffling his voice, so I'm going to have him.
All right. Entering in the daily transactions from the bank account. I mean, just generally getting around to that, right? Getting motivated to start that. That's just an example, small example.
Now, when you finally start, do you find that you just away you go?
Yeah, once you start, you're in.
So that's really the point, is to just know that once you start, you're off. So you just have to step up, step in. What keeps you? What is stopping you?
You're kind of in, you're faced with all the tasks that you have in front of you. You have, I got to respond to that message. I got to deal with that, to-do task for my wife. All these things are in your way, and you're deer in a headlight. That's what it feels like to me.
Yes. So low priority stuff is keeping you out of the starting gate.
Except for my wife. That's always high priority.
Yeah, because she's here now. Right?
Yes.
Women are clapping. You willing to play a little something else with me?
I'm here.
All right. What are 3 things that you love most about your life?
Wow. Currently?
No.
My wife.
We know what you gotta cover.
Yeah. Thanks, Bernie. Appreciate the layup there. That was helpful. So number 1's out of the way. I think I love that we have a massive amount of financial flexibility that I didn't have growing up. To be honest, if I were to identify one major thing, that is one thing I have. I would say I love about my life right now.
So what's one
freedom.
word that describes that?
Freedom?
This is about money.
Well, yeah, it would be money that would provide that.
All right. I don't want to coach you, but it's saying it's giving you an abundance of financial freedom because of your financial situation.
Correct.
So, wealth,
yeah.
affluence, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, I want you to say, I love being wealthy. I want you to say it really fucking loud. To them. To them. This is your message.
Wow. That's hard to say. That's really hard to say.
Exactly. And it's so important to you, and you can't say it out loud. And there's nothing wrong with it. I so want you to know there's nothing wrong. Is there anything wrong with that? No.
I fucking love being wealthy, all right?
Thank you so much. Full out. I love to see it. There's another interesting part of flow state, which is the struggle phase. And a lot of people don't realize it's there. And what they do is they're starting to get into something difficult that they want to do, but it starts to get really difficult and it's unsatisfying. Because it's like, I'm not in the mood for this, I'm not feeling it, and what most of us do is we stop. What it's doing is it's preventing you, it is the gateway to flow state, and it's preventing you from getting there because you stop. I learned this, I was amazed when I learned this because I was constantly doing that when I was writing. I'm not hitting my groove. And I would get up and do something else. And then I learned about the struggle phase, and I would just sit with it, and then all of a sudden, lift. And now I've learned to trust it. So when you feel that struggle, learn to trust it. And go through it, power through it. There's another thing, and some of this isn't about Superbold, and this is just Fred's life crap, right, that I've picked up along the way. It's what I call the achievement reward paradox. Is fun, while being fun, doesn't have that same long-lasting impact as achievement does, as contribution does. Think of the most extreme example of a moment of fun, which would be the orgasm, hopefully, for most of us. And it's hard to remember your orgasms. You can remember making a patient really happy, that look on their face when you finish the case, or when they call you the next time, when they're home and they're saying, I just ate a full meal with these implants, I can't believe it. That stays with you. And we spend a lot of time pursuing fun while ignoring the fact that achievement is what stays with us and enriches us. Just a little side note. Keep that in mind as you're out there chasing fun. Fun's great, but fun's sort of the reward for the achievement. And a lot of times the reward is pretty fleeting for the achievement, and the achievement itself is the reward. I saw this t-shirt recently, and it has nothing to do with my lecture. I just thought it was funny. So, does anybody not get this? Okay, I'm just checking. If you want to know what to buy me for Christmas, this is it. Anyway, so I've talked about the Pride method a few times, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but for those of you who haven't heard it, I'm going to go through it and repeat it. This is how I teach somebody to be super bold using the exercises in the book, and these are the steps that they can use for anything that they're trying to accomplish, anything you want to achieve. This is the way you approach it. The first step is preparation. Second step is relaxing. Third step is insight. Fourth step is dosage. The fifth step is everyday action. And I like the word pride because I want to live a life that I'm proud of. I want you to live a life that you're proud of. It's not an ego trip thing. It means you're achieving your dreams. You're having the contribution and impact that you want to have. Create a life that you're proud of. Let's look at I'll break down the steps. Preparation, we talked about it. Think about when you're asking referrals. Say those words to yourself so you know what you're going to say. And that's in any situation. You want to meet somebody in the line in Starbucks. You want to practice your boldness. Think about what you're going to say. You're going to come up with a compliment for them. The beauty of preparation is it creates the foundation for spontaneity. I know what I'm going to say in this lecture, but I'm also going to come up with stuff because I'm prepared to do this lecture, but also prepared to discover something. I didn't know what I was going to do with Ethan. But he played full out, and he made it possible for me to discover something. So you want to be prepared, which means you got to rehearse. You got to try. If you're coming into a situation where you are feeling underconfident, you're feeling a little psychologically at risk, you got to prepare yourself. You got to rehearse. You got to think about what you would say. They don't teach us this in life. Growing up, you don't learn how to interact with people. So you have to, don't be embarrassed to have to learn how to interact with people. It's a gradually built life skill. If you watch Bernie walk around, he can meet anybody, anywhere, and start a conversation. Because he has 100 things in his head that he would say to anybody. Many of them are inappropriate. However, he gets away with it. So he's prepared. Why? Because he's been doing it since he was 17, 15, whatever, since the gas station. 10. Yeah. So problem child, basically. But he's different. The rest of us need to come up with this preparation in these situations. There's nothing wrong with doing it. And there's something really right doing it. Sometimes you need a theme song playing in your head if you're coming into a difficult situation. You got to have a little, mine is a little Prince song that I'll play in my head at certain times. If I want to feel that strength, hey, all good movies have a soundtrack. Give yourself a little soundtrack if you're going into a new situation. The reason we play music at F50 on every break is to get your energy up. To inspire you, to fill you with something. Music fills you with something. It vibrates with us. It's very powerful. Third step. I don't know what happened to the second step. I got to look now.
Rehearse, you had it.
No, it's not rehearse. I deleted one of the slides while I was building this. Relaxation. Relaxing is the second step. Never mind that. Before we get to insights, relaxation. People always would tell me when I was young and nervous and anxious, relax, just relax. It was like, how? Like, now you've noticed I'm nervous? That makes me twice as nervous. So they didn't explain to me how it was done. I have learned that it's actually really easy to relax. Because the first thing you do is you check your physiology. And you find you're doing something really tense with your body. And all you have to do is let it go. Shake it off. And you're halfway there. The other thing you're going to do is breathe. Because when we perceive psychological danger, it is the same reaction as physical danger in our bodies. Same chemicals, same autonomic reaction. Including slowing our breathing, maybe even stopping our breathing, because maybe on the African plain 100,000 years ago, danger, stop breathing so the saber-toothed tiger doesn't hear you sniffing in the bush. That's a terrible way to put that. See, sometimes you need to be more prepared than that moment.
An insight.
Yes, yeah, an insight is like, prepare that line differently. But we stop breathing, which is not helpful. Depriving yourself of O2 is not helpful. So what you want to do is, if you're coming into that situation, you've relaxed your body, breathe. Before I get on stage, if like I'm going on a big stage, because this stuff is not, this is just exciting to get here, but walking on the main stage at DS World or something, I'm backstage, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm just going to fill myself with oxygen, and it just relaxes me. I'll even do a thing called the Vegas breath, which V-A-G-U-S, not Vegas breath like you've been up all night in Vegas and drinking and smoking and everything. No, it's the vagus nerve that runs from here to here. Basically, you vibrate that by just going, ha. Oh, shit.
That's been fluid.
See how powerful it is? You had no idea that I could even throw my voice into traffic. But you do that 3 times, and it will relax you. And just like somebody seeing you're nervous makes you more nervous. When you relax yourself, you go, oh, I can relax myself. So you get to shift it down another level because you go like, I'm in control of my state. Third step, insights. Key insights that change how you're approaching a situation. One of the most important insights you can have in life is to understand that no one is thinking about you anywhere near as much as you think they are. Who are they thinking about? Themselves. They may think about you. They may have a judgment about you. Is it accurate? Do they know you? If somebody calls you a jerk and flips you off because you're driving along and they didn't like your driving, does that make you a jerk? No. What they think of you is none of your business. I particularly love that phrase. What other people think of you is none of your business. They're not right. People would say this, oh, people are going to laugh at me. And I always say, what people? Do you know them? Well, no. Okay. Do they know you? No, not really. Okay. And yet, you're giving their opinion tremendous weight. Why? Understand that if they're thinking about you, they're probably not right. Just like when you have a judgment about somebody else. I have judgments about people all the time. Before I meet them and as I meet them, I'm wrong 90% of the time. 90, 95, somewhere in that zone. Until I get to know them and go, oh, all right. I was right about Roy. What I thought of him turned out to be true.
He is who he is.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to, when you let that go, you suddenly can move through the world in a totally different way. Here's the other thing that bold people know, which is why they try all sorts of crazy stuff, is that 99% of the time, nothing bad happens unless you decide to label it that way. That's the key. We often say, oh, it's humiliating, I'm embarrassed, whatever. I could be at dinner, spill wine on my shirt and go, oh no, people are gonna think I'm clumsy and like a slob and everything. And I could be just ruin the night for myself. Or I could look at it and go to everybody at the table, I guess this is why my dry cleaner loves me. And that's it, and just let it go. I've made a choice not to experience it as bad. And then everybody else doesn't have to experience it as bad. Stop being fearless of those harmless things, because most of the time, nothing bad happens. And when you start to discover that, everything changes. Because we didn't call it bad, we called it a step up. We called it fun. We called it life. Dosage. Control the intensity of your venture into your discomfort zone by being a little bolder, not an intensely extreme overdose of boldness. If you have a lot of trouble meeting people, don't go to a party of 300 people where you don't know anybody. You won't meet anybody. Try 3 people, try 1 person, try somebody in line at the coffee shop you go to, and just start talking. My book is full of these exercises, and there are 5 levels of exercises that start non-verbally. Just start by smiling at everybody you meet, intending to find that person who won't smile back so that you can register it as not harmful. Because you have no idea this could be the worst day of their life. Or they just have bad teeth, whatever. They didn't smile back. You don't have to take it on. And you start to practice that, and you expand your comfort zone by controlling John Harris will explain to you that if you're trying to bench press, don't start with 400 pounds. Work your way up, because it'll be too intense. But you got to get out of your comfort zone. That's the idea, is to know where you're uncomfortable and step into it. Start. Get to the point, walk up to the person, now you're stuck. You got to say something. That's part of it, is just get into that zone where you have to act. And then you'll come up with something. And it may be stupid, but guess what? You won't die. And they won't care for more than 10 or 15 seconds. But you're going to build that boldness muscle steadily. And then the last step is everyday action. Do something every day to build your boldness muscle. Whatever it is, because what you do every day aggregates. What you don't do every day deteriorates. So it's a choice of how much you want to let it deteriorate. Interesting things happen when you do something every day. Whatever it is, this can be your boldness, muscle development, or anything. But what happens when you do it every day is your brain starts to define you as that person. Oh, I'm a writer. Oh, I'm a musician. I'm somebody who exercises. I'm a bold person. I'm somebody who asks for referrals. Do that stuff. I'm a person that talks to strangers. Whatever it is, your brain says, oh, I'm just somebody who's comfortable talking to strangers. I do it everywhere now, just for the fun of it, just to watch how uncomfortable it makes other people. But like in elevator, great opportunity. Talk to people in an elevator, because there's some weird unwritten rule that we're not supposed to speak. So I speak, and people always respond. And I get better and better at coming up with stuff to say. I've built my boldness muscle. And when you commit to doing something every day, you don't have to decide if you're going to do it or not. You're going to do it. I do something bold every day before I go to bed, no matter what. If it's 11 o'clock and I haven't done something bold, you know, I got to get online and find somebody, which doesn't count, by the way. Don't confuse social media skills with social skills. Got nothing to do with each other. I'm going to have to go in the grocery store and say hi to somebody in line at the grocery store or the produce section or somewhere so that my brain knows that I'm doing it. So the real trick is to start early. Don't just start early in the day. And you'll get to it. And when you do something every day, as I said, it aggregates. You move the ball down the field, even if it's an inch, because what happens is 3 months goes by. And if you didn't do anything, 3 months goes by. And you didn't do anything, and 3 months turns into a year, and it turns into a decade. And suddenly you're my age, 45. I boldly lie about my age, at least online. But this is what aggregates. What you do every day aggregates. And if a year goes by, and you've aggregated something. Now, this is a mantra that I recommend to people because we're constantly telling ourselves, underconfident people are, at least, bold people are not, that we are not worthy. We are not worthy for this crowd, this group, whatever, this situation. That person's not, I'm not worthy to talk to that person or be in this situation. Bold people always tell themselves, I belong here. I belong everywhere, wherever I am, because it's all just human beings. I have been in rooms where everybody is way more successful than me. And I just have conversations with them, because I belong there. Because they're just people. They're just better with money than me, or smarter, or luckier. Or all of the above. Doesn't matter. I can interact with them and connect with them, because they're people. What's my time like? 10 minutes? 10 minutes, yeah. I want to do something. I need a volunteer. Yeah, you're scared now, aren't you? Brittany, was that John putting Brittany's in? Who, this will be, I want to teach you how to connect with somebody. Josh? Josh? Jason. Oh, yeah, see, you almost got away with it because I didn't get your name right.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for Jason. Pick out somebody in this room that you have not talked to. You don't know at all and you haven't talked to them, which is pretty easy because you're fairly new here.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Kingsley.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody talks to him. Yeah.
I did notice him yesterday. He was wearing a Chiefs shirt.
Yeah, he's misguided. Yeah. So here's the laser technique. You're meeting him for the first time. I'm going to explain. This is how you make somebody feel like they're the most important person in the room. It's really simple. We don't do it well. First step, look at that person. Look at them. Let's say there's a whole room full of people around and you're meeting them at a party. So I'm going to go through all the steps and then we're going to play it out. First thing you do is look at him and only him. Not look around, not put your eyes down and stuff like that, or look at what might be more interesting in the room or what makes you more comfortable to look at. The next step is to actively listen to what he says, because you're going to be doing questions. You're going to ask him open-ended questions, which is not a yes or no question, right? You're going to ask something like, what was the most interesting trip you've ever been on? What did you get most out of this weekend? Whatever the heck it is. And then you're going to stay locked on him as he responds. And you're going to listen. One of the other key tricks is when you're listening to somebody and they tell you something, what nervous people do, or people think they're trying to connect, is they jump in with their own story. He says, I really went to Rome. Rome was my favorite place I ever went in the world. And then you go, I was in Rome. I saw the Rolling Stones at the Colosseum. And he goes like, I got nothing. I just stayed at the, So you don't play top this. You go, tell me more about the trip to Rome. Tell me more. Incredibly powerful words to connect with somebody. So you're going to stay focused on him. And then when you're done with him, you're going to end it well. You're going to say his name. You're going to say, really great to talk to you. Loved that whole story about, the prostitute that tried to pick you up in Rome. And I look forward to seeing you again. There's a couple other people I want to meet. And you stay locked on the whole time until you say your last line. And then you break away. And then the next time you see him, you're going to go, hey, Bill, great to see you again. You know what? I talked to a couple other people about Rome. They caught syphilis in Rome. So here we go. You're going to actually start over here. You're going to walk over and you're going to say, hi, I'm Jason. Really wanted to meet you.
Hey, Jason. Really wanted to meet you. Hey, I'm Will. Will, how are you? Great. Good. Where are you from, Will?
Okay, first fail.
Oh, what did I do?
How are you? That's not a conversation. That's like, how are you? Good. Two things that aren't not really good. So, but it's a default, right? Which is what we go to, but it's terrible. So what you're going to say is, hey, and then you're going to ask him a question. I'm going to let you come up with a question. Hey, Bill, blank.
Hey, Bill, where are you from?
Avoid the one-word answers. God damn it. No, it's an open-ended question. So yes or no or one word is not as good. All right, now you're gonna break away, Jason. So, Bill, before you go, I didn't mic these guys, unfortunately. How did that feel talking to him?
Well, you felt engaged.
Because he stayed with you.
Right.
And okay, I might as well start using the mic because the camera guys really appreciate it. So yeah, talk about how that felt.
Well, you felt engaged, and you felt like he was interested in actually learning something about you, and just.
Do you feel like you liked him?
Yeah.
Yeah. You learned nothing about him.
No.
That's the interesting point. He came away liking him because he felt like he was interested in him. That's the game. How to make somebody feel that way. You stayed right locked on him, talked to him, and asked him open questions. It was beautiful. Thank you. Let's hear for the players. That's all it takes. I've watched people do this with 200 people in a room, one after another, and every one of those people felt connected to that person. It's incredibly powerful. Hit your button.
How do you feel when you're the one asking all the questions all the time and no one ever asks questions back to you?
They might or might not. It doesn't matter. I have met people who know nothing about me after 20 minutes, and they think I'm amazing. Why would I want to dispel that illusion by telling them something about myself? That doesn't matter. They don't have the social skills that you have to ask. That's what you're trying to, that's what you have to keep in mind. It's about, your connection doesn't have to be a tennis match. If you're aiming for that, it's the wrong thing to go for. Didi.
I have a question. Do you think that technique works with most personalities? Or are there like kinesthetic people who that might not work with very well? Any suggestions?
I think that the whole range of people are interested in that. Somebody with social skills, like Roy is talking about, like that will start to ask you things. It becomes this deep exchange. It's gone back and forth, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And suddenly, in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you know them in a way that you're shocked. Because your vulnerability is really the key. If you start to offer stuff, you're going to offer stuff that matters to you in response to what they said. But the more shy or inhibited that person is, the more you want to peel them open. Because they'll try to give you one-word answers, and you're not going to let them. And they're going to open up. And it's fun. I pick out the shyest person in the room when I go into a big room. They're easy to spot because they look just like I did 20 years ago. And I just go up and I start talking to them. And they're going, oh, well, anyway. They don't look at me, and they do all sorts of stuff. And I'm having fun bringing them around. Yes?
So the last thing, remember them. How I do a really good job of remembering the stories. Like, oh, that's motorboat guy or whatever. Linking a name and remembering the name.
Yes, of course.
You got any,
this is what we do when we're nervous. We forget their name immediately. We don't even hear it most of the time. So what's the easiest way to get their name? You just say, wow, you know what? You're so interesting that I immediately forgot your name.
And then what do you do 2 minutes later when you forgot their name again?
You say, I'm sorry, I'm an asshole. And I forget everybody's name, and I really forgot yours. But I'm going to try to guess it. Give me the first letter. That's all you have to do, is not worry about it. So, anybody else? Anybody else? I'm glad we did that. That was great. So, I'm going to do a little bit of English lit here for you, because based on this little conversation Mark had. This is Hamlet. It's a very famous quote. To be or not to be, that is the question. Who knows what Hamlet's talking about? You guys really were in dental school. You didn't pay attention to anything but science. To be or not to be. Brad knows.
He's debating whether or not he wants to continue living given what has happened in his family.
He's talking about killing himself. Most people don't know that's what this sounds, to be or not to be. He wants to continue his existence or not. He's debating that based on his situation. Now, what's really interesting is the rest of the quote. Whether 'tis nobler to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Kind of like the idea of outrageous fortune. That's kind of what we're all trying to live here. But this is what he's saying. Is it nobler to endure all the tough stuff that happens in life because of the way fate comes at you? Or to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing, end them? In other words, end my troubles by punching my own ticket. What he's saying is, life is too tough for me. Life is suffering. Guess what? Life is suffering. This is a given. We have entered this life. It is not an amusement park ride. It will have extreme highs and extreme lows if you're lucky enough to live longer than a few minutes. Life is about willing to be in a situation where you're suffering, where you're struggling, where you're enduring the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and finding the joy in it and the satisfaction of just being alive, of just trying and failing and trying and getting up again. I intend to live a really long time, and I'm never looking for the safest path. I'm going down swinging. And I bring this out because this is a very powerful character and a struggle a lot of people go with. Is this worth it to go through all this shit? Life is hard. Yep. At its best, life is hard. And sometimes it gets easy. But when you face the hard stuff and you get through with it, you get on the other side of a really difficult time. How many of you have been on the precipice of failing in your practice at some point? Feels pretty good to be on the other side, doesn't it? To know that you climbed out of that. Brooke, wouldn't you say that? Yeah. Laurentis, you know that about yourself. You can you can come out the other side stronger and better and thrive. I'm going to tell you one more quick thing. I got a few. Yeah.
We're going to end on time.
Because I heard of, there was this minister, his name's Fred Phelps, and he made his cause basically to go to people's funerals who were homosexuals when they died and basically tell them that God hates them for being gay. This was his life's work, was to express an intense level of hate. His website says, he died a few years ago. His website still says, God hates fags. This is what he thought his life should be about, and this is where he put all of his rage and energy and bigotry and hatred. And then he died. And people, they didn't have a funeral for him because they figured his funeral is not going to go well at all, right? But what happened is people on the street outside his church held up signs and they said, "We're sorry for your loss." Not God hates you, not burn in hell. We're sorry for your loss. They faced intense hatred with love. Think about how bold a choice that is. When everything, if I don't know if I could do that with this guy. I'd be much more interested in holding his head in the toilet. But to choose love in the most difficult situations with a person who, by all outward appearances, doesn't deserve it. To be able to make the boldest choice possible always and choose love. That's an amazingly powerful thing. But remember, boldness is a superpower. And the only person you need permission from to have the most fulfilling, satisfying, joyful daring, love-filled life, the only person you need permission from is you. I love you all, guys. Be
All right. Good job.
bold. Love. Don't go anywhere, brother. Don't go anywhere.